Today on Gamers Couch,
Istanbul. Merhaba.
Welcome. Merhaba.
Or less haba.
Welcome to Gamers Couch.
Very much less haba, because this is a Pegasus Spieler game, not a Haber Spiel.
Welcome to the Gamers Couch. My name is Sarah. I'm the artist behind Pinselgeschichten and wife of this very funny dude here. His name is Daniel, and he's just as much a board game nerd as I am. Hence, we talk about our gaming collection and special games, thoughts on them, stuff like that every Sunday with you guys. Because sharing is caring. And we go about it like every week. He will explain rules and gameplay to you. Then we talk about what we liked or not liked. And then we finish up with funny stories and experiences and a tiny teaser for the Wednesday Draw for Initiative board game art series.
Hold your horses. We're not married. We'll be right back. Ta-da!
He was so unprepared. It's like, not even funny. This is unprofessional, honey. You gotta be married to me with the rings.
So this is
the shackles.
Still not going to be the professional episode of the Gamers Couch?
No, we will probably never have one. Anyway, now that you wear the shackles of marriage, do your thing. And talk about rules and gameplay of Istanbul.
Welcome to, well, we've got to the point. It's a trading in the Mediterranean game, kinda. I mean, yeah, it's about traders in Istanbul, and you wanna, well, get rich and be the first to be able to show off some rubies, because rubies were way more popular back then than boobies, it seems, and so everybody tried to get as many rubies as they got. And now every time I say rubies, Sarah will have to fight really hard not to hear the other word I just said.
No, I actually have a song in my head.
Which makes this an interesting endeavor. So
you have to live with the consequences.
At the core of this game is a very and timely political message about socioeconomics, where we all know that if you're not the boss, specifically if you're not the boss, you know this very well, that the boss actually gets never anything done, runs around all across the place, and, well, has to have his assistants to do his stuff for him. So this is almost like a study in postmodern workplace organization. But let's take a closer look at the game and you'll understand what I mean with that. So in the game, every player has a little cart in front of them that is used to carry wares around Istanbul. You also start with a little bit of lira, which is the Turkish money, or yeni lira, if it's the new one, the current one. And you have a starting action card that you can play on your turn. But to make the most of that, let's take a look at what your turn looks like. Looking at the board, I'm here the green player, so I have this stack of, well, it's my merchant, and beneath my merchant are all the assistants, and there it starts with our little commentary across how the workplace. So with his assistants firmly under his butt, you can move your trader, your boss dude, around Istanbul. And Istanbul consists of multiple different locations that offer you, well, different opportunities for business.
Now I'm thinking Christmas Carol of the Muppets. Stop. Oh, God.
Because business is the
British
Turkish way. In this case, it's the Turkish way. So, to conduct business on your turn,
oh, for God's sakes,
you pick up your merchant with all his firmly attached assistants and move him 1 or 2 spaces to a new location. You may not go diagonally, well, technically one step always has to be orthogonally. Since you can move 2 steps, you can go something like 1, 2, for example, or 1, 2, or 1, or 1, or 1, 2, or 1, 2, 1, something like this. Whenever you move, you have to eject one of your assistants and leave him at the space. That is because you are entirely incapable of doing anything. So while moving around Istanbul, you will litter it with your assistants that will actually do the work for you. So once you arrive at a place and have an assistant that you can leave here, you will be able to use the action of the space you travel to. There are a couple of different spaces. Most of them revolve around gaining resources, but some also go about spending resources. And ultimately, what you want to do to win the game is to get a couple of these rubies to show them off to the Sultan and then be the dopest merchant of Turkey, or in this case, Istanbul at least. For that, you have on your little wagon cart thing here spaces for rubies, and depending on with how many players you play, you have to either try to collect 5 or in a 2-player game 6 rubies. The game ends as soon as one player has amassed that amount of rubies, and usually they are the winner. Unless it's a tie, then you'll go into who is the richest, the other important things about being a merchant. So let's take a look at what you want to do. So especially in the beginning of the game, you want to go maybe to one of these 3 warehouse places, the yellow one for fruit, or the red one for cloth, or the green one for spices. They correspond with your little spaces here on the cart. So if I move to the fabric warehouse and leave my assistant there, he will be in charge of loading up my cart with, well, cloth or fabric. I would there max out my fabric on the cart. So whenever you go to one of these spaces, you just move your little cube token here to the maximum amount of that resource that you have on your cart, kind of topping it off, filling it up. And that it doesn't matter to which one you go, you just fill up the ones that you have. You may notice there's a 4th resource, these luxury jewelry items that are not as easily to get. The space to get them is the black market, where you can choose one regular resource and you can just put them up one space, and then you have to roll 2 dice. And well, that is very unlike me, but I rolled a 9, which, according to this tile, says I'm now getting 2 blue resources. That's how the base of how you get those resources. There's another space that does something similar, giving you a wild bunch of resources, which is the post office. If you arrive at the post office and leave your assistant there, he will carry to your card whatever is here. So in this case, I get a green, a yellow resource, and 2 coins, which I would take from the bank. The interesting part about the post office is, after I've been here, I have to move 1 cube always from left to right down. And now the next guy, or if I get here the next time, I would get a red resource and a yellow resource. And so moving forward for each visit to the post office, revealing the more valuable goods, so to speak. But once someone arrived here with getting all those top level things, you just move all those 4 back again, and now you're to the lower tier items. So that's how you get your 4 resources. Where do you spend those resources? Well, you have 2 markets to go to, primarily to sell those goods. One would be the small market, and the other one would be the large market, which don't differ in principle that much. They all have a little tile up here telling you which goods are being bought at the moment. And if you arrive here, you leave your assistant here to sell those goods for you, because you are a busy man and have to be someplace else, so leaving assistants there. Once you arrive here, you get to trade in some of the resources you have on your card. As many as you want. Ideally, the more you are able to trade in, the bigger the payout is you'll be getting. So in this case, if I get to the small market, they require a blue resource, 2 yellow, and 2 green. And on my plate, I have 1 blue, 2 yellow, and 2 green. So I would reduce them to 0, then would take this tile and put it under the stack, so the next time someone goes here they have to deliver these goods, and depending on how many goods I was able to sell, I get a certain coin value. On the small market this goes up to 20 coins, on the large market this goes up to 25 coins, although the large market tends to have more of the high value blue items that are not as easily to get as the other 3 resources. So that's how you pick up resources and sell them for money. So what else can you do to get money? Well, there's the tea house, which is pretty much just a gambler's den. You leave your assistant there to rob other people with, well, parlor tricks or gambling. In this case, you again roll 2 dice, but before doing that, you have to, well, name a number. If what you roll is equal or higher than that number, you will get that number in credits. So let's say 9. I rolled an 8, which is unfortunate, because now I won't get my 9 coins, but instead I'm below that, I'll just get 2 coins. But if I would have rolled a 10, for example, you didn't see it. I rolled a 10. So I would get 9 coins, as I predicted, obviously. Do you want to say something?
No.
No?
No.
There's another way to make the best out of the wares you can pick up.
And it's good, but I'm just saying.
Oh, goods, wares. Peruse the wares, the goods, resources. It doesn't matter. Another place where you want to have cubes with you, of the wooden variety, are 2 mosques. The small mosque and the great mosque. It's just the size. It's not a title thing. Around here, if you arrive, you will find that there's 2 little tiles on here that require a certain good or a certain amount of goods. So if I arrive here and looking at my little card, I have 2 red. That means I could pick up this tile because it says you need 2 red. I actually have to pay one of those 2. That's what the little arrow on top here. Let's see if you can see that. And then I get the tile. The next one who gets here needs 3 red and has to pay 1, and if that's gone, the next one has to have 4 red and pay 1. Paying close attention to the card reveals that there's only space for 2 resources, so something has to happen for someone to actually pick up some of these higher or more expensive tile versions. They all work the same way for red, green, and here in the Great Mosque for blue and yellow. The effects are a little bit different, so let's start from left to right. If you get the blue tile, you get a 5th assistant that you just throw under your butt and then have, well, additional means of moving around. For the yellow tile, you can return an assistant for 2 coins, and I haven't talked about how you get the assistant back under your butt, but we'll get to that in a second. And with the small mosque, the red one, this says whenever you are at a place where dice have to be rolled, so for example the black market or the tea house, you can either turn one of your dice to a 4, which would have saved my roll back then, ideally, or I can re-roll both dice, and yeah, that wouldn't have been, I need to rely on the 4. The re-rolling thing doesn't work out for me. And the green one says, whenever you go to one of the 3 warehouses, you can spend 2 coins to buy an additional ware, which obviously is a ware that isn't a part of the warehouse you've been to, because that's maxing that out anyway. So just going through the tiles before I get a little bit more into the movement part, you'll notice there's a couple of tiles with rubies at the bottom of them. For the mosques, you will get one of the rubies on them if you were able to get both tiles. It doesn't matter if it's the two good or two wear tile or three or something. You just need the blue on the yellow one, and same for the red and the green one on the other mosque. So that's one way for you to get those rubies. There's also this Wainwright tile, which allows you to upgrade your card. So you would spend 7 coins to get this little thing here, put it into your card, and now you have more space for goods to carry around, which is how you would get to, how you would be able to have more than 2 wares per thing. If you're able to upgrade your card entirely, so place 3 of these little upgrade things here, you get one of the rubies that's on here. That's another way to get a ruby. The other 2 tiles, the Gemstone Dealer and the Sultan's Palace, are kind of the main spaces where you would go for getting more rubies. The Gemstone Dealer gives you a ruby for money, and they get more expensive the more rubies have been purchased by other players. So in this case, the first one costs 12 coins, the next one 13, and so on. The Sultan's Palace works in a similar way, where you have not to bring money, but goods. So if you deliver blue, red, green, and yellow good, you get the first thing. And the next time you have to deliver those 4 and one of your choosing, and then the next time another blue one. So you can kind of decide what you want to go for. I want to amass money and deal with the gemstone guy, or do I want to go with the Sultan, hoping that I don't insult him? Does insult have the same word origin as Sultan? I don't know. Well,
look it up and tell us. Educate us, guys.
Probably, maybe. I don't know. Maybe it's coming with a job. If you're a sultan, you're easily insulted or something like that. I don't know.
And then you have the sultanine with you, which is a raisin.
But they're a little schrumpelig, which is the German lesson of the day. Which is, I don't even know how to. I don't even know. Look it up. Schrumpelig. It's a German word for being.
It's gonna be in the lower bar. There's a.
It's like faltig.
Translation.
I have no
Crinkly.
idea. Yeah. Wrinkly.
Wrinkles.
Wrinkly. Yeah. I skipped.
The schrumpelig Sultan and the Sultanine had a little fairy tale starts in my head right now.
There's only a couple of spaces left that we haven't explained yet. Let's go for the caravansary first. You have these action cards which you may play during your turn, and they usually give you a bonus or allow you to move differently. For example, this one I have here says I can stay on my space and move 0 and reuse the space. Otherwise, on my next turn, let's say I've moved here, leave my guy here, and the next I move here, leave my guy there, and move here. So you always have to move 1 or 2 spaces. You cannot stay on that space unless you have this card. Now, if I decide to play this card, I just discard it on here. And the next player who moves over to this place has the opportunity to draw 2 cards. But he may also draw 1 card from the stack and take the top card from the caravansary. Afterwards, he has to discard 1 card. And it doesn't say from the 2 cards that you drew, you draw 2 cards and then you discard 1 card, which could be the one you have on hand either, or a card that you have on hand either. The other 2 spaces, the police station and the fountain, are a little bit more interesting and kind of relate to how movement works in this game. As I told you, you're leaving around the assistants. To get them back, you have to move back to that space. So if you move to a space where there's an assistant, you sit on him, and next time he just travels with you. That's how it works. That's how HR does it, and that's how they did it back then, and that's how they do it now. They just go around town, and if there's a boy or girl you like, that you want to have to work for you, you just sit on them, and then they go with you. And so moving around, obviously...
I'm having really bad pictures in my head now. Please explain it a little bit less colorful, at least when it comes to innuendos. Please don't.
I don't know what
if you see a boy or a girl that you like, you just have to sit on them, and then he comes with you. It's like, what the heck?
Okay, corrections. If you see a boy or girl that you like to work for you, so a professional. Does that help?
No.
Whatever. So your merchant is cruising around city on the butts of your assistants. At some point, you might get to the situation where there's no assistant anymore available. So if you already placed your last guy, now if you would move to another space, since you personally are entirely incapable of working, if you go to a space and don't have an assistant under you, you just end your turn and that's it, and then the next player has to go. Again, to remedy that, you have to go to a space where one of your assistants is, and if you can go back and then have one more and then try to collect them all up.
Yeah.
But there's an easier way to do that, and that's where the fountain comes in. If you move to the fountain, that is, by the way, the only space that you can also move to without any assistance below you, then you will just collect all the assistants and place them and gather them under you. That's the action for that space, and that's where it's kind of quite unique. There's also another thing that's quite annoying when walking around, and where the fountain is a special case. So let's say Sarah parked her assistant or her guy here, and I also moved to the small market. Now, before I even get to use the small market tile, I have to pay 2 lira to each merchant on that space. In this case, Sarah is the only merchant there, and I ignore her, so I don't have to spend...
You want to move your hand with the coins here? Thank you.
Now,
I'm rich.
Now I also can decide to not pay 2 coins to her, but that means that my turn now ends and I'm not allowed to use the space I'm on. So that's one of the things where players can kind of get in their ways by kind of trying to remove resources or make things more expensive for other players, but just by being there and then saying, I want money. Maybe I should do that. I should go to town and just say, I'm a trader. Do you want to lend, please, 2 euros? No?
We can test that later at the supermarket.
Maybe. The special case being, again, the fountain, where it doesn't matter if there's another merchant, you can just go there and you don't have to pay them. That's kind of the most neutral space of all, where you don't need assistance, you gain all your assistants back, and you don't have to pay other players. Now, in conjunction to that, there's an interesting case having the police station. The first question being, why, and all these dudes here are your family guys. Why are they in prison? Is it like, everybody has someone who's in prison from their family. And you always could just go by the police station to have him run an errand, kind of breaking them free from prison. So the way this tile works is if I move here, I guess, bribe, although I don't have to pay anything. What I do now is I take my family member, which is obviously of my color, in this case green, and I can move him to any space around here and immediately use that space's action. For example, the tea house. Now, the cool thing about my family members is that they don't have to pay a merchant there, or actually they don't interact with any other stones in here, because we'll get to these two. And a family member is just there to do the errand that's on the tile, and that's it. But it's a good way to kind of reach a a tile that's far away where you couldn't easily go there, or to use a tile that is highly populated by other traders. Because remember, I said you have to pay 2 lira per trader that's on that space. So in a 5-player game, if you're really unlucky, there could be a space with 4 traders on, and you would have to pay 8 coins unless you send here little Jimmy, and little Jimmy is then rolling the dice at the tea house for you, or rolling the tea at the dice house, whatever. That's the only purpose of the police station. Now, a different thing that may occur, little Jimmy is now staying here because he's not the most clever family member. I mean, he got caught by the police. What should I say? So, while Jimmy is here still at the tea house, and if another merchant lands on that space, he will have an encounter. And this happens before that merchant may use that tea house effect. An encounter is always with another, wooden cube, cylinder, whatever. So if you land on here with a family member, that one gets returned because he has been recaptured to the police station, and thusly allowing me to send Jimmy out again, because I don't, that it doesn't make sense to me with the police station, but whatever. Jimmy is still there and waiting for new instructions, it seems. The player who captured the family member has the option either to get 3 coins for that, or to draw a card, which is one of the ways to get new cards next to the caravansary. And then that player would just use the regular thing here. Just of note, if, for example, my merchant is here, Sarah would still have to pay me 2 coins before encountering my family member and then using the tea house. So just in order to do so, she will get money back from returning Jimmy, but she cannot use that money to pay me moving in there. And speaking of encounters, there's 2 more. There's the governor, not the governator, it's Turkey. I don't even know how. The governor. The governor works in a way where if you move to that space and have the encounter again first with the governor, you draw a card from the card stack, and then you have to return a card or to discard a card to the caravansary again. Now, you can also choose to keep the card or keep all the cards and just pay 2 coins. So that's always the question with that guy. You draw a card and you may exchange it for one in your hand and discard a worse one, or pay 2 lira and just keep them all. In a similar fashion is with the smuggler, the Black Windows dude here, who is totally illegal, internet activated, probably, and is then allowing you to exchange or to gain one of your goods on your card, and then you have to discard one of your goods. But that's usually a thing there would be to get a blue one and get rid of one of the others. Or again, you may pay 2 lira and just keep the one you took. Yes.
And then he goes to the 8.
And after you had an encounter with the governor or the smuggler, or you roll the dice, and then he moves to the space with the big number on it. In this case, the 8, and the governor would go to the 9, and now we are looking in. Now the governor would go to the tea house. Incidentally, now that the governor moved to the tea house and the merchant is here, the merchant doesn't have an encounter with the governor, only if he moves back to that space. So you only have encounters when entering new areas. So that's the general gist of the game. You will move around, try to pick up goods and exchange them on the market for money, and then sell or buy rubies for that money, or you kind of max out your good trade and go to the Sultan's palace and get
Sharampali.
Get rubies directly for goods. or you try to upgrade your abilities at the mosques, send around your family members, upgrade your card. It's a game where the box says it takes 40 to 60 minutes to get rich or die trying in Istanbul, which is I thought that would make a good subtitle for Istanbul. It's like, maybe it's on the box, but it isn't. And I'm looking at the box if I'm looking at there. It's for ages 10 and up, which is, I think, perfectly fine, suitable. One of the nice things, at least with our version of Pegasus edition, is this version is English and German. You might have not guessed, because so how do you distinguish English and German words from each other? Well, the English really like their apostrophes and the attached S and having multiple words. In German, it's the same thing. Just get rid of all the spaces and what apostrophes. You just go, and instead of Sultan's Palace, you just go with Sultan's Palast, which is, it's German. It's actually quite easy to speak and understand. Just imagine if there's any relation to words that you can just, either compound with a dash or an apostrophe or something like that. You just
put an S,
glue them together, concatenate, as the programmer would say, and no cats involved in this, but you just, like the trader with his assistants, you put them, butt end on butt end, and then you have one big word.
With an S in the end.
With an S, yes.
Yeah, because it's Bratskartoffeln
Syndrome. That's the other German. Okay.
But you didn't say for... did you say how many players?
No.
Say it.
No.
Please.
No.
2 to 5, as you can see with the colors, because you're smart, in contrast to me this morning.
Differences for player count are obviously how many traders are running around here and how many family members you have here. 3 to 5 players is kind of the regular game, and you will adjust the amount of rubies for that type of game. So usually there's 1 ruby per player on the Wainwright, on the mosques, and you have little markers here that say 2-3 players, 4-5 players, and here it's similar to indicate how many rubies will be placed on that. So the more players, the more rubies. No surprise there. Another thing that's a little bit different, but just for the 2-player game. So in the regular game, the game ends when someone gets 5 rubies. In the 2-player game, you have to get 6 rubies, so you need 1 more. Also, there are additional merchants on the board in the 2-player game that are just there to annoy you. So they get you roll dice and place them somewhere, and if you move onto that space with one of those neutral merchants, you have to pay 2 coins to the bank and then roll again. So this sort of simulates the annoyances of live people at the table. Luckily, without them taunting you or talking to you, and without them spreading their assistance all across the board either. But yeah, that's
and
much.
The stacks of the mosques
Yes.
are a bit thinner. You adjust them when you have 2 players only.
You typically only have as many tiles in there as you have players, because each tile can only get 1 tile per player anyway. So
you don't have to have the 4.
Yeah, and
goods.
which ones does the manual say? So it's usually it starts with the 2 wares, and then it's either 3 or 4, or 3, 4, 5, or something like that.
That's that. Are you done?
I think that's that. I mean, I can show around a little bit of the cards, which have different effects. So this, if I play this, I get to use the post office action twice. So if I get there with my dude, I get those 4 bonuses. Then I would move that around, and playing this card gets me another round of bonuses. And it's almost like I would have gone to that space twice. This card gives me a free good of my choosing. Here I can use the Sultan's Palace action twice. Obviously, I need enough goods to satisfy the Sultan and not insult him. With this...
Oh, nothing.
With this card, I can go to the small market and use any good instead of the ones required here. What do we have here?
That was send your family member back to the police station, take 1 bonus card or 3 lira.
So this is, if you really don't like the other players catching up Jimmy, you can, remote control Jimmy to the police station and have him give up.
Why is he called Jimmy?
Because you Jimmy a door.
Oh.
No?
I was thinking you were your greatest hobby besides being the merchant. You're a locksmith and you try your skills at the police station. And there's a family member, a cousin twice removed.
Best way to try your lockpicking abilities is a police station.
Yes, of course. Well, you like the thrill.
Makes as much sense as having Jimmy go to the police station and waiting there for being sent out to do shady stuff. Money, so this card gives you coins. This we already had. This allows you to just reuse the space you're on without having to move. There's a similar card to that. This one allows you to move 3 to 4 spaces instead of 1 to 2. And this is similar to the Sultan, but goes for the gemstone dealer and allows you to use that space twice. There's no real limit to how many cards you have. The only restriction is you have to use those cards on your turn, although it usually doesn't make sense to use them not on your turn because they all relate to what you want to do when it's your turn anyway. I think that's it. The game comes also with these little reference sheets, which are certainly nice to have. It is quite easy to explain how to do that. If I had to compare it, it feels like a little bit like 5 Tribes, an easy way version of 5 Tribes.
Can I quickly put in the likes and dislikes before you go on?
I didn't say if I like or dislike that. I said
no, but you were gradiently going into that section to the part where I thought, come on, don't say anything. I didn't put in the marker yet.
The manual is, there's not much in here, but then again, there's not much to the game. Anyway, setup is quite easily explained here, and as I said, this illustrates your entire turn where you do your move, then check if you have an encounter. If yes or if no, then or whatever. After you resolve the encounter, you take the action on the tile, and after that. Encounter with a merchant, and afterwards you have an encounter with the other guys that are on the board. And I think I just explained that wrong, because if you land on a space, you have an encounter with a merchant first, then you have an action with a tile, and then you have an encounter with any of the other guys. So that includes the family member. But it doesn't make much of a difference. It's just there so that you don't use the money you might get from catching a family member for using the space you landed on.
Do you want to keep going with the likes, or shall I? Face says I shall. So I shall tell you what I think about this game, what I like, and maybe not like.
It's çok güzel.
And that is your Turkish lesson of the day. It means very nice, very beautiful, right?
For the record, I don't speak Turkish. I just had to work there for a couple of months, and that's all I picked up.
Besides merhaba and some other words that are more of the foul language, maybe.
No.
No? You didn't?
Higher. So I think it knows higher. Whatever.
So, let me tell you what I think. I think, for one, Habib was very funny today. Very descriptive with how he explained this.
It's a game that tries to make a statement, which I can appreciate. Most of these games are just boring, bring your goods from A to B, score them, and do something. This really is gives us modern insight and analysis between the relation of a boss or a merchant in this case and his assistants, and how you...
It also goes for wife and husband, the wife being the boss in this case.
Really?
Meaning...
Wait, does it mean you have multiple husbands and you leave them at the spaces you...
No, but...
that we are going shopping and then you just dump me out of the car and then drive with your other husband to do some...
Whoa.
renovation work or something like that?
Gosh, no.
I'm confused.
I'm the boss. I just need one assistant. It could also be a family member. That's fine. It's you.
Yeah, Jimmy.
You're not Jimmy. Your name is Daniel in this life.
Yeah, but you could drive to the police station and...
I can drop you off, yeah. If there's a Pokemon at the police station, I will do that. If not, I'm not. Anyway, you were very descriptive and funny this time around with explaining, which makes it really hard for me not to giggle all the time. So, coming back to the game, what I liked there, it was a compliment.
To the game?
To you.
Çok güzel.
To you, it was.
Huh. Did you want to say something? Because I was about to drink my... that's not tea, it's coffee, so... It's not chai, as... Yes?
Do the drinking, I do the saying. So...
Kavi, shekeli. With... No shekeli is no sugar. Yes, I just remember some of the words. The important words.
I don't speak any Turkish, I just know 2 words. And he's blasting words all over the space.
I know what's important for survival in Turkey, at least.
Coffee, sugar.
I was there.
Hello.
Yes.
Thank you. Bye.
I don't know why. I just try to run away as quick as possible. Right now.
You know, the bad thing is I knew at one point. I knew and I totally forgot. Anyway, so, for reals now. The game. So... my tension is... I really... so this... rewind. If you know us for a while and you have maybe watched this series for a while, you know that I'm very big on the artwork and the stories and what comes with it and stuff. And I really like that a lot. With this game, funny enough though, I didn't find the theme and the artwork and stuff as intriguing as with other games. Don't get me wrong, it's very nicely executed, line work stuff, shading. It's very, very well done, but it's not the way that I say, whoa, this is super fancy, or this conveys... the artwork conveys things of the game or of the theme of the game to the point that it really has an impact on me and on my gameplay. It does not, but it looks nice. Another thing that, please do not make that sound too often for the mic, otherwise I will have... And you now, folks, witness the point where you can love and hate somebody in the same second, just equally as much.
Continue.
So...
I'm waiting.
It might be that a foot will be landing on your foot with quite some force in a minute if you keep going down that road. Don't look that smug. You're really distracting me anyways. It's hard to not be ADD.
I'm collecting my thoughts.
Yeah, collect them quietly, please. So, you totally distracted me. This is horrible.
Destroyed.
Sorry, guys. So yeah, just to make sure. So the theme didn't grab me as well as it does with other games. I have to cut this off. Shut it. You're ruining the video. I love you dearly, but please. This is not professional. I don't want to have a 2-hour video again. So, the theme... Oh, God's sakes. The theme didn't grab me as much as it does with other games, because I would have... Or I feel like you could have pretty much any other theme or topic on this game and it wouldn't change a thing. So this, for a long time now, was one of the games that we played where I for the first time again said, oh, this is okay. Yeah. But here comes the awesome part. The gameplay itself, the mechanic, the things you can do at the board is so cool and kind of balances out the, for me, lack of excitement when it comes to the theme and the artwork that I say. This is still a very, very, very well done game. I don't maybe need a theme or super fancy artwork to enjoy this game. That might be a fact as well. But I really like that, is, like you said, it's like a simple version of Five Tribes. It's the same kind of movement, and my thoughts while playing this, when it comes to, okay, strategy, what do I want to do, how can I achieve what I want to do, is very, very similar to Five Tribes, which I like a lot, but it feels less locked down as Five Tribes does feel for me, because you can... Well, you're not as restricted in your movements. You're restricted in another way, meaning you have to leave an assistant at one space. And if you don't have any assistants under your belt anymore, well, then you just gotta very slowly meander towards the fountain and get them back.
And quickly, before you hit enter on those comments, for one, we have not played Mangala, but I'm aware of it and know that it has a similar thing as to Five Tribes. Also, this game was won the Kritikerpreis Kennerspiel des Jahres in 2014, and I think that's around the time when Five Tribes came out as well.
Yeah. I
think we picked up Five Tribes at that Spiel.
Yeah.
So
from Bruno.
Yes, they are actually quite different. It's just the
it feels the same.
Yeah, I mentioned because of that feel of having this having a stack of things and moving them around with you or laying out the way. Although it is, in fact, it's a poor comparison because unlike in Five Tribes, you don't place an assistant on any space that you use. You just place them on the space you land on. To use that thing, but it feels
very, very similar. It feels, but it's less exhausting than Five Tribes is for my brain.
You don't have to recognize the patterns on the board,
right? But still, it has something that intrigues me, and that is the way you can try to win this game. So you don't... I guess the replayability factor here is what I really like about this. You can go for the gems, for the gemstone dealer, the sultan. You can go for the goods or for mosques or whatever. There's different ways you can get those gemstones, or what you want to focus on, especially in the first half of the game. I mean, in the end, you all will meet up at the gemstone dealer and the Sultan's palace. Don't do the beaker, and get the stones that you need to get the 5th or the 6th one, and then win the game. But I like that you can work with this game and hardly ever go to a market, or you can solely focus on the markets and then have maybe one of the cards that says do the gemstone dealer thing twice, and you just bam bam throw out those coins and ta-da, you've got your 2 gemstones there, rubies as you said. So I really like that you are not forced down one path for achieving or getting victory points in the way of rubies, but you can go this way, that way, or whatever. And depending on how many players you have, it plays not differently in the sense that it's so crowded that the board is so crowded that you might not want to go for one thing at all, but it felt to me like
it's a bit more tense, I think.
Yeah, it's more tense, but not to the point that you're just in the elbow society. You can still get around each other and only have so many encounters and points where you have to pay the other goddamn merchant. So I like that it, even with 4 or 5 players, it keeps the stress level of a 2-player game where you have the same size of a board and you can easily get around each other if you prefer to play the passive way. I really, really liked that, and I would say this is the less brain fart, exhausting version of 5 Tribes. I would put it in the same box, I would classify it as the same kind of family game, because the movement is so similar that it very much reminds me of 5 Tribes, but it's the less exhausting version of it, I'd say. So you maybe wanna pick this up if you have the younger kids or the less experienced players, or something
I think
like that.
One of the major differences to a game like 5 Tribes is you think ahead here as well what you want to do, but even if another player moved to a space, it's not that time consuming to rearrange your plans. So what might, or the only thing that happens here that kind of is disruptive is if another player moves to a space that you actually wanted to use, and then either changes the thing, like in the small market, and now certain like different goods are here and you cannot sell the stuff you wanted to sell because they are not in demand anymore. Or, for example, someone moved to a space and made something more expensive and now you cannot afford what you have in there anymore. So that's the only kind of interaction. I do like that you still, it's not as streamlined as you might think, or at least if I would have heard how this game works, it's like, wouldn't that be a little bit boring? Isn't it kind of obvious where you want to go? But on a turn-by-turn base, it does change because you still let's say the board changes enough to have different maximizing your turn decisions in that space, where at some point the fountain is pretty useless in quotation marks from how to win the game point, but sometimes it's just easier to make your last jump over there and then regain all your assistance because you want to kind of switch sides on the board and you don't want to go back and pick up the assistance from the other side. Also, the setup we have here now is the starting setup. There are different versions where you just rearrange the tiles in different ways. That's why these numbers are on top here. Or you can just randomly shuffle them. The game just has a couple of recommendations where certain tiles should be, or at least how much distance between them should be, which makes it replayable, which I like very much, but also makes these decisions a little bit more either more often occurring if you have things close to each other where you want to go. Also, sometimes you want to go to space just to kind of block off the other player and force them to, reconsider
Never
that.
happened.
Not necessarily because you'll be rich for getting his 2 coins if he wants to go there, but sometimes it's just enough to prevent them from doing that. Usually on your turn, and that's another thing I like, it's like, okay, if I go, you don't want to really go to another space where there's another merchant. You always try to look and see, is there some space I can reach that allows me to kind of circumvent meeting up with another merchant and also get a lot out of it. Do I want to go to one of the warehouses? Well, maybe my goods are already filled up enough, so that's not really entirely worth it. So that's the main thing about this game. What I also like is if you have a knack for rolling dice and playing with your luck, the tea house and the black market surely do fill that up, so it's not entirely super head strategy based, which makes it viable, I think, for playing it with smaller children without and with having them have a fighting chance by just going there and saying, well, 12 crap. Well, they probably won't say crap, but they would say craps if they knew that that's the dice game. And that's a good way to introduce them to saying craps. Right, that's how it works. Yeah.
Totally fine.
Yeah, the end game always, as Sarah already said, revolves around the Sultan's Palace or the gemstone dealer. I mean, the rubies you can pick up from the Wainwright or the mosque are nice to have, but they almost feel like a compensation for not going directly for the big pot, so to speak, and ending the game already. But that's another thing that I like about this, where the game starts out and everybody is kind of doing their own thing, and that's entirely different. Maybe someone tries to be able to ship around more goods and don't necessarily have to go to the warehouses that often, or someone is going for the mosques and denying that space to another player early on, and you can do that in 2 turns, where you go to one of the warehouses first and then go to one of the mosques and pick that up. You probably would be the first to do that. Then again, next thing is how can you effectively use the tile superpower kind of that's on there, and they're unique enough to make them interesting, but I don't think they're so powerful, game-changing that everybody would rush to get one. It's a nice to have little bonus, but at least to me, it didn't feel like you have to go to get one of these upgrades early on to have a chance at the game. Sometimes it's just as viable to just get a bunch of money and try to pick up some of those rubies early on, and through that force other players to, get more money, because they are now quite a lot more expensive, and very much with the Sultan's Palace as well in this region.
I'm with you there. What I really like, and I forgot, is that you have the reference sheet with your move your turn and what the governor and stuff does, and all the special cards, what they do. So I really liked that. It's super fast to be taught to somebody and then go and play, and there were hardly any questions that we had.
And it's also more a game actually about logistics than business, because in this case it's really more about moving around and making efficient moves than being able to trade the most and have the most money. Money and cards are worthless at the end of the game unless you tie with another player. So you really want to go for the rubies and not for the business.
Did you feel as well that the theme could have been any other theme and it would have worked as well? Or did you think that
it was okay?
Istanbul Bazaar was the... Did it do anything for you?
It could have been something else, but I think it actually quite fits. I like you have your little cart, and then you stack up on goods, and then you're traveling around.
Maybe I just didn't feel it as much. Just wondering.
The trading in the Mediterranean is a little bit generic, That's, I mean, that's how it is, but that's not necessarily a thing that I would hold up against the game.
No, I'm just because it's not very often that the theme or the artwork doesn't do anything for me in a game. That's why I thought, maybe it is. So
I think it's all right. I think it's fitting, and it has that family game feel. And,
very much so.
Even if someone wouldn't have told me that this won the Kennerspiel, it is one of those games that feel like, this is for families. It's not too difficult, but, this being the Kennerspiel, it's a little bit more advanced, but I can see this very well fitting onto a shelf for any family who's interested in playing this with their kids, or just for couples. I think that's another thing I like. I did like the 2-player version of this. It's not often, because sometimes these games feel like they are lacking something with those sort of virtual merchants that are simulated in there.
But this is very well scaled for all of the player
it just
numbers.
Felt natural with having these additional merchant tokens on there that kind of fulfill the same thing in there. It's not as crowded, but then again, the game is a little bit faster for that, and I do like 2-player games that are a little bit faster to play, so you could rather play 2 turns or 2 rounds of that game than having one giant thing.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Shall we rate and then talk about what we experience at the table? Why is your thumb to the side a bit? Mine is for the theme and artwork, and yours?
As I said, it's a little bit generic. So it's one of those games where, again, if someone said, "Hey, do you want to play Istanbul?" Yeah, sure, I would. But it's nothing I would like. Hey, and this week I want to at least get one play of Istanbul in or something like that. But it's in the kind of. In the list of things I would pick for, hey, we have date night, what shall we play? And
or we have a game night with our parents.
Yeah, something like that.
Let's get something out that is not 5 hours long and too heavy, but nothing like Uno either.
And not too difficult to explain. This is, in fact, except for the start where you have to go through the tiles kind of to give someone a fighting chance and knowing what to expect from where to go and what to do. It's quite easy. Once you have the gist of the game, since the tiles are similar to each other, it was quite easy to explain. As I said, the manual
if you have a short attention span, you still can grab this game like a first go.
Yeah, and
super fast to be explained.
For that, I think the 40 to 60 minutes is quite fitting. If you're playing this with 3 players or 4 players, and it's your very first game with explaining 60 minutes is something I think we had
45 50 minutes all in all.
Pretty sure just playing the 2 of us we
were faster.
Would be able to finish a game under 40 minutes.
Yes, is, very much so.
Not that much. I think 30 minutes.
But our second game was 34 minutes, if I remember correctly. So it was more to the 30s than the 40s. The first game, of course, we had the 40s. So that was fun. Let's hop into the last section, funny stories and experiences. So like we just... or like I just said, we played, the 2 of us, 2 rounds, and then we had another round with our game group. So the first round we ever played was called The Short Ways, which is this setup here. And the second one that we played was the opposite setup, which is The Long Games. Mm-hmm. And we were... pretty close together already with the rubies in the first game, just trying out the game, feeling how it might work, what's nice to do, what is efficient to do when it comes to your turns, blah, blah, blah. But then the second game, So first game I played more towards the goods, and second game I tried one thing, going to the tea house, mostly gambling for the money, and then going to the gemstone dealer right away and buying the rubies. In all the games I did disregard the Sultan's palace. I went more for the gemstones because I'm a girl and I like gemstones. And I don't know why.
They have gemstones there too.
I know. I didn't feel like I want to go through all of the warehouses and get the goods and get my card be upgraded to the last upgrade that there is, and then fill it with everything, and then go to the Sultan's palace and say, I've got the greatest goods, dear Sultan, give me a gemstone. I felt more like,
Instead, you went to the market and got the money.
No. I went to the tea house and gamble, and then gemstone dealer. And then from the gemstone dealer, I went back to the tea house and I gamble. And I'm really good with gambling and going back to the gemstone dealer. So back and forth pretty much. This is what I did in the second game. And I was leading for the longest time. And then this sweet creature here... we were both fighting for the last gemstone, and he did what I wanted to do. Also, I was at the tea house, and he had the money. You didn't go from the tea house. You went to the gemstone dealer. He was starting player, by the way, and went there, bought the ruby, got his last ruby. And then it was my turn, because you always finish a round when somebody gets the 5th or 6th ruby. So I went into the space as well. And I did not get the ruby. And you know why? Because I had to pay him the 2 coins. And those were the 2 coins missing for the final gemstone. I was very upset. I didn't like it. I was so close to victory, and you had to jump in and say, "Oh no, honey, I'm the person who likes the rubies way more. They suit me better than you, with those puppy eyes, so you cannot be angry at him." So yeah, I want to hurt you, but I don't. So yeah, that was one thing that I did actually not expect, that we were always so close when it came to who ends the game in all of the games, and to also like really down to the last move that somebody else wins. It happened the same way it happened with 4 players. So that was Wednesday, date night, we tried Istanbul. And then Sunday, we had our gaming group over, and we played a round of Istanbul with them. 2 new players with them, so they hadn't played the game before. Us, the more experienced one, having test played it for the group. And... we were super close together. So Tina won the 4-player game, and all of us were just like 1 gemstone away, and would we have gotten 1 more move, we all would have ended the game as well. So it was 1 ruby, and we were in the midst of getting that ruby, having enough money or having enough goods to trade them for at the Sultan's palace or whatever. So it was really, really close, and I did not expect that.
Made a fireplace.
Yeah, I'm gonna make a fireplace under your butt in a minute.
Are you an assistant?
Ooh. No. Side up?
No.
No? So yeah, that was surprising to me, but I enjoyed playing this as a starter game for the gaming group. Yeah, I liked that.
In our 4-player game, I kind of had some trouble getting a clear direction. I was like, yeah, I think I'm going for the power up from the mosque, and then see what's kind of close by and do. But yeah, you're better off in this game to have a plan, kind of, or at least to early on. Well, not early on, but to commit to either going the money route or the wares route, and then try to do all that. a little bit of this and a little bit of that sounds compelling as long as the stuff tends to be cheap, but it felt to me that the other players who were solely focused on one of those two were so quick in raising the prices for them that or at least I felt at a disadvantage of trying to do both in some way.
And it was super quick that you got to the rubies. It's like turn 4. That you had a very, very good chance at having rubies.
That said, I was also incredibly unlucky, as always, when it comes to rolling dice. So
Wheaton's disease.
So
struck hard.
It might be that was related to that, because I was, in fact, a little bit surprised at how poorly I was doing, and still we were as close at the end. I was expecting to be like 1 ruby behind everybody else or something like that, and I think
you just were 1 ruby behind Tina. You caught up pretty fast then. Once you I think the strategy for you should be not to have the tea house and the black market be your main tiles to go to. They could be an addition, but I think with Wheaton's disease going so strong with you,
even with the reroll tile,
you should maybe not count on them too much.
Here's a fun fact in statistics and how they work. If you're really bad at rolling dice, it does not matter how often you roll them. Because if you roll them once or twice, they're bad. So the put 1 to the 4 side is actually the helpful thing. Even then.
And then the other one was always a 1 or a 2, and you said something like 7 as a number, and it's like, what the
and 7 rolling 2 1s. 7 rolling 2 2s.
Happened a lot. So like I said, maybe in that case, don't have the black market and the tea house be your main tiles you want to count on if you're also a bearer of Wheaton's disease. So that's, I think, did I forget anything?
No, we need now to talk about what is coming up
in the future. Let me see.
So there's
I'm trying.
While Sarah is thinking of hints to give me, this relates. We're done now with talking about Istanbul, and just to reassure you, this is the Mediterranean Istanbul, so no Galatasaray or Fenerbahce available here if you're into soccer. The European way think of.
Whatever.
But there's another show on this channel which is called Draw 4 Initiative. Draw 4 Initiative, where 2 artists battle it out each time over a board game, trying to fan art their way through and depict real stories and real people with real colors onto real paper, sometimes surreal paper. And these videos show up every Wednesday on this channel.
At 9 a.m. CET.
Or on the Geek List for Draw 4 Initiative if you're watching us on Board Game Geek.
And the new game, the one that comes out next week, is designed by my favorite game designer.
Me.
You're my second favorite.
Bruce Harlick.
Sorry, you just went to place number 3, honey. I'm so sorry. But then there's Steve as well. So place number 4 for you.
Great. This is developing really well.
You can only have good standing in one: love or gaming. I chose love for you, and the other guy's gaming.
I feel.
But it's back to the hints. It's a game that is made by my favorite board game designer. We have the collector's edition, and there might be very funny minis in the game that might have inspired the artwork. Maybe. I don't know if they did. Yeah, they did. Kind of. Which game is it?
Is there a certain amount of Frenchness in the game?
Two. Two people are Frenchies.
So there's a certain amount of French in the game. Is there also a certain amount of Asian in the game?
Yes.
Is it about traveling?
Yes.
From the grave and back?
Yes. And you just spit on me.
Are you sure? Not the
Well,
spitting.
it's not the grave, but it's
Listening.
back and forth.
Back and forth, and then scaring all the villagers out of their
No.
little town. And
No.
it's about an OCD inspector, a monk.
No.
Then it's about defending that village against.
No.
But it's feudal Asia.
What Asia?
Feudal age. The time frame is feudal.
Oh, it could. There is no specific time frame, timeline there.
Pretty sure there is.
No, there's not. Whisper in the ear, and I say if you have the right game.
Well, there's only 2 games, but I know that both are taking place in the same time frame, sort of.
My favorite designer has 4 games that I can pick out like right away that we have at the shelf. One of them we painted. No, 2 of them we painted. 2 of them we haven't painted. Well, this number 3 is the one that comes out next week. And then there's one more missing that will come up in a future season.
To cut this short, obviously this is about Samurai Spirits, the other Japanese themed feudal game from Eric Bozar, which obviously
it's not Eric, it's Antoine.
Antoine. You confuse me.
You
almost got me on the wrong path here.
It's not Samurai Spirit. I forgot that game.
See.
So we have.
So it's Ghost Stories. See you next week.
No, it's not. We have Samurai Spirit, Ghost Stories, all of the expansions of Ghost Stories. We have Rampage, we have Takenoko, and we have Tokaido. These are the 5 games that we have of Antoine. We have painted Rampage and Takenoko. So there's 3. Ghost Stories, Tokaido, and Samurai Spirit.
Now you have to figure out by a process of elimination which will be the game for next week. And I hope you join us then, or at the latest next weekend on Sunday when it's time to... Oh, now it would be the theme song with Gamers Couch. Gamers.
I cannot sing. You said never sing on a video again, so I listen.
Come back, please. maybe to find us again next week. A good way to do that, which makes things easier for everybody. If you subscribe to the channel,
yes, you will be notified.
You obviously could find it in your history on YouTube as well, but it would also be easier for you to have it in your automated liked videos playlist. You can achieve that by clicking the like button just below. And I hope you have a great week. Play some games, enjoy yourself, and try to find some assistants to sit on.
Respectively, spouse.
Or leave them at places to do your work.
Spouse.
Be the boss man.
Be the boss girl.
Don't be the assistant.
Be the boss woman. Have fun, everybody. Happy Sunday.
Goodbye.
Bye.